the Toronto Raptors have a big decision to make this offseason, and Kyle Lowry has a decision as well. If he wants to stay in Toronto or ultimately leave. And with the 4th overall pick, the consensus is that they're going to probably draft Jalen Suggs because they're going to gain in Suggs what they're losing in Kyle Lowry. But in a hypothetical scenario, if they do indeed draft Jonathan Kuminga over Jalen Suggs, maybe they do want to bring back Kyle Lowry because now they don't have that floor general point guard, and now Kyle Lowry comes right back in with Lowry, Fred, Anunoby, Pascal, Kem Birch, and then off the bench you have Boucher, Trent, and Kuminga.
You got to bring Trent
and Malachi
back.
Flynn as well. So that's not out of the question, and I think Kyle Lowry, it's not a done deal that he's going to leave. It's not also a done deal that he's going to stay. And if it were me, if they're going to draft Kuminga, I would lean towards bringing back Kyle Lowry. But also I think that Kyle Lowry is not going to go for nothing. He's been loyal to the city. They didn't trade him at the trade deadline. Who knows why? Maybe because they know they're gonna negotiate a deal where he's gonna come back. But Kyle Lowry definitely won't leave for nothing. I think he will do right by them. If he does want to leave, he's gonna negotiate a sign and trade so Toronto can get something back for him. For example, if they do a sign and trade with Philly, they can get a lot back for him. I think they can get a lot of pieces back for him. So I think this is a big decision to make whether Kyle Lowry does indeed stay in Toronto or not. If they draft Kuminga, I'm leaning towards he's going to stay. If they draft Suggs, I think he is gone.
I agree. And I think they want to do right by Kyle Lowry. And I think Kyle Lowry's at a position where he wants to at least compete for another championship yet again. So I think a sign and trade will probably be in the best interest for them. If, because I know they're in the best interest to fulfill Kyle Lowry's wishes. And if he chooses to want to play somewhere else, a sign and trade would matter. But I think, like you said, it also depends, because if they do end up picking Kuminga, I think bringing Kyle Lowry back would be the best bet. But if they do pick Suggs, I feel like Kyle Lowry is just going to be in the sign and trade. You could still get something back. You're not going to let Kyle Lowry walk for nothing. I think that's good with Toronto. They're smart with what they do. And Masai, he's really good at this, so I think that's going to be huge for them. But it really just depends on their direction in the draft, Suggs, Kyle Lowry walks, Kuminga, Kyle Lowry stays, because if Kuminga stays, you want to keep that point guard, 2-guard tandem of Lowry and Van Vliet because Kuminga's not going to be ready on day one. And if Suggs comes in, you at least get that Gonzaga experience. He's going to be not all the way ready, but he's going to be able to plug in. Or if not, you could play Fred at the 1, Trent at the 2, if you bring Trent Jr. back. So I think they can go with multiple options, but at the end of the day, it's going to be what Kyle Lowry wants because I think he's done enough for that city to earn that respect.
Do we see a possibility where Mobley drops to 4?
I don't. I think top 3 is locked.
No.
I think it's Cade, Green, Mobley, Green, interchangeable.
I think Cleveland takes Mobley. If he drops to Cleveland's going to take him.
So even if Sexton gets traded, you don't think that it's a possibility that they...
If Sexton gets traded, the only way Cleveland would get Green is if they go to 2.
Okay.
That's the only way they can get Green.
Okay.
But other than that, they're locked in for Mobley.
Okay. So with that being said, my thought process was, given their draft position, like you mentioned, it is dependent on what they do with that pick. If they draft Mobley, it's a no-brainer. You keep Lowry because you have a nice core that you could actually work with still. But if you get a guy like Jalen Suggs, then you're just showing me that, I'm going in a rebuild type mode. Jalen Suggs is a younger version of Kyle Lowry. Obviously, Kyle Lowry has done more, means more to the city. But I just mean in a purely talent-based opinion, I feel as if Suggs could do a good job of taking over that role of Kyle Lowry. Big shoes to fill, but I think it's definitely possible. But it's hard not to keep saying what you guys are saying. It's the Raptors need to do a good job of trying to maximize this opportunity. It's either you try and keep Lowry and get another player that fits your team. Personally, I wouldn't go Kuminga. I just feel like Suggs is a level above Kuminga, and especially with the
in terms of like IQ.
Correct. And IQ, I just feel like Suggs is a little bit more complete player, personally.
I could see it.
But
he's more developed.
Correct. But it's just it's a tough situation, especially because what Lowry means to the city. Like I said, it's hard to not keep reiterating what you guys are saying. He means a lot to this city. He put in years. They traded DeRozan. They decided to stick with Lowry. So it's not a foregone conclusion that he's gone. But if you are gonna move on, you need to make sure you have that backup option. You need to make sure that you're not only having that backup option, you're getting proper compensation for a guy like Kyle Lowry. So for me, I feel as if they could somehow miraculously get Mobley, then you stick with Kyle Lowry, you pay him what he wants. But other than that, I feel like that's where I see him going.
They're going Kuminga. They're going to draft Kuminga.
You think so?
I believe so.
Why do you believe that?
The reason why is because the main reason. Toronto is not a free agent destination. They're not going to get a star. They have to trade for one, and that's what they did with Kawhi. They're not going to be drafting this high in a very long time with the roster they have because their roster is good enough to make the playoffs, maybe the play-in, not good enough to win a championship, not bad enough to get a top pick in the draft. Because of that, this is their one chance to get one of the top 5 players in this draft, and this draft is very heavy in that. Jonathan Kuminga, when we talk about ceiling, he has arguably a top 3 ceiling in this draft class. Probably has a higher ceiling than Jalen Green, even though Jalen Green is amazing. They have to bank on a ceiling right now. Jalen Suggs is a guy who is going to come in right away, but he has a high floor, low ceiling. I view him as a Drew Holiday, Mike Conley, Lowry type of player. I don't view him as a Dame, Curry, Chris Paul.
Do you see Kuminga as that?
I see Kuminga as a Paul George. He's an all-NBA talent. Suggs is an all-star. He's going to be a very solid player. I don't think he's an all-NBA talent, especially with how loaded guards are nowadays. Okay. I don't see him being De'Aaron Fox. And De'Aaron Fox
him being
is
John Morant.
I don't see him being John Morant either.
I don't see that either.
I see him being a steady point guard, but never being that all-worldly guy.
Is that Kyle Lowry?
He's not that either, and that's the thing.
You're saying Kyle Lowry isn't.
Kyle Lowry isn't that.
I agree.
Kyle Lowry isn't.
I agree.
We saw with him and DeRozan, it didn't work.
So you would bank on the Kuminga potential.
I would bank on Toronto's development and player development staff to develop Kuminga into a very good player. And because OG Anunoby is starting, you get to ease Kuminga into the game by making him come off the bench early in his career, which is what Siakam did, which is what OG did as well, which is, I believe Kawhi came off the bench too his rookie year. I'm not sure.
Paul George did too.
Paul George came off the bench too. So
Danny Granger.
There have been a lot of players who have come off the bench early in their career, and I think Kuminga could benefit from that a lot. And this Toronto staff, I think, is very good at developing players. Definitely. And you need to shoot for the stars and get an all-NBA talent with this pick. And I think Masai Ujiri recognizes that, and that's why I think he's leaning right now more towards Kuminga than Suggs. I'd even go as far to say that he might be leaning a little bit more towards Barnes than Suggs as well. If we're talking about a truly talent standpoint, Scotty Barnes tested within the 99th percentile of athlete. I mean, his measurements were off the charts. His physical traits, his vertical, his lateral quickness, he tested off the charts. So I think from a pure talent standpoint, Masai Ujiri is probably looking at that and saying, okay, we need to kind of shoot for the stars because we have a very good roster.
So let me ask you, who has the highest ceiling, Scotty or Jalen?
Scotty or Jalen Green?
Yes. No, Jalen Suggs, pardon me.
The thing with me is
that one's tough for me.
I struggle with Scotty because I'm not as high as Scotty as a lot of people are. You talk about their physical traits, Scotty has that, no doubt about it. It's just Scotty's lack of a jump shot. It's just Scotty to me is not the fastest player. Scotty to me doesn't have the best handle. There's nothing that Scotty does that pops out at me outside of being an elite defender. Because of that, it's hard to say if he does improve his handle, if he does improve his jump shot. Could he be an all-star? Absolutely. But I'm not sure if he has a smoother game than Kuminga. I think Kuminga reminds me of a Paul George type of player. He's in that Cam Reddish, Paul George type of mold, whereas Scotty Barnes reminds me more of Draymond, Kyle Anderson, guys like that, like all around guys.
Jack of all trades.
Yes, but they don't do something elite outside of probably playing defense.
I like it. I think it's solid. So you think okay? So I'm asking you right now. Toronto goes Kuminga.
I think they're going Kuminga.
What about you?
I think Suggs. I feel as if you have even the slightest possibility of Kyle Lowry leaving, you need to find that replacement.
I think Suggs too. I don't think they trust VanVleet at the 1 for the long-term period.
I don't think so either. Even though they did give him a decent amount of money.
I think
so
he's
it would
fitted
make
as a 2,
sense.
just a small ball 2.
I 100% agree with that too.